Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Whitestown Redevelopment Commission meeting. It is July 6th, 2020. I'd like to go ahead and start off the meeting with a roll call. Nathan, if you wouldn't mind leading us away in that.
Yes. Brian Brackmeyer.
Present.
Kyle Weathers. Absent. Adam Hess.
Present.
April Wyckoff.
Here.
Rob Worrell.
Here.
Elizabeth Keith.
Here.
And Michael Berg. Not here.
I do have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is a Pledge of Allegiance. Feels a little weird without a flag, but if you all wouldn't mind joining me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Don't see any presentations on the agenda. The next item would be the approval of the meeting minutes from our June 1st meeting. Should everyone receive that in your packet? If you have any questions, concerns, edits, revisions, would entertain those now. And if not, would entertain a motion.
Adam's on mute.
Okay, I'll motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Now we'll entertain a vote. So those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from our June 1st meeting, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Moving along, don't have any unfinished business. Moving along to new business. And item A is to consider resolution to establish the Whitestown Parkway West Economic Development Area and Allocation Area, which is resolution 2020-05. This is some land that's, I guess, Nathan and other representatives from the town have been contacted by a few interested parties and interested in development opportunities. So this is a good step in the right direction for that. When you look within your packet, you should see a map along with parcel numbers identifying where this is, but would entertain Nathan if you have any comments in general just about the timing in order to establish this ERA, and then Steve would interest in your thoughts there as well, and if there's anything in general that you wanted to include.
Yeah, I'll let Steve talk on the timing portion, but currently we've had 3 developers look at large pieces of this. Mainly their focus has been the Ronald Reagan, which comes through this area, and looking at that funding and some other questioning how we're going to fund it and how much money they could get in their projects for infrastructure. So they're starting to come hot and heavy wanting to build in that area. So this is a proactive step to get things done. That way we're not held up waiting on this when it does come time to develop.
In terms of timing, this is the first step in a multi-step process. For those of you, a lot of you will remember for the other TIFs that we've created in town. This is a declaratory resolution. It will also go to the Plan Commission for review. They will need to approve it. It will go to the Town Council for review. They will need to approve it. And then ultimately it will come back before the Redevelopment Commission again, and you guys will hold a public hearing, and then you can adopt a confirmatory resolution at that point. So this is like I said, a several step process. I don't think it's on the council agenda this week, Nathan. I don't think still needs to put some stuff together, and it'll be at the Plan Commission and Council, I expect, in August, and probably back before the Redevelopment Commission then in September. But also a funding source. I don't know if you mentioned this, Nathan, for the Ronald Reagan Parkway, of course, is one of the things we've had in mind with this.
Yeah, then, so as Steve said, this is a multi-step process. We've established other areas similar to this, but this is an area that already has interest from potential developers, really more seeking out with that Ronald Reagan Parkway coming through and the money available for that. But something that please encourage any questions you might have for Nathan on the kinds of development. This is really contiguous with some other industrial land right there near the area too, but also some questions for Steve if you have any of those about the process as well.
Nathan, I've got a question for you. What type of, I guess, what are the proposed types of industrial development that you're seeing?
So one the biggest we've seen so far was only 450,000 square feet.
Okay.
In that area, there's a lot of drainage ditches and floodplains, and where the path at the Reagan obviously is taking the driest path. That way it's cheaper to construct and not go through all the floodplains. One of the developers was showing about 250 acres, and I think their biggest was like 250, with a lot of stuff in the 75 to 150 range, just because they're trying to put what they can where they can. And with the floodplains and drainage, it's a little tight to kind of fit some things in. So a smaller industrial, a lot of still e-commerce is the conversation, but they don't have any tenants, so it's still speculative. But the initial drawings we've seen have been smaller, not a bunch of the 600 to 1 million square footers like we have up in North Anson.
Any other questions while we have Nathan and Steve here? If not, I'm personally supportive of this. This is something that, Nathan's mentioned for a while, that he has had some interest from developers on this. And again, it's within the comprehensive plan. It's when you look at the other development there, I think it's suitable. So again, would welcome any questions, discussion. And if there's nothing, would entertain a motion.
I'll put forward a motion to vote on resolution 2020-05.
We have a
Roll call on that too, Brian.
roll call. Okay. Oh, yeah. Forget about the Zoom meetings. So we have a motion on the floor for resolution 2020-05. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would entertain a vote by roll call.
Brian Brackmeyer,
Yes.
Adam Hess,
Yes.
April Wyckoff,
Yes.
Rob Worrell.
Yes.
Resolution 2020-05 is approved. Next item on the agenda is what we've been excited about for a while. So Nathan, if you wouldn't mind leading us in item B, and that is, opening the proposals for the Rex property. I believe we have a few, then some other ones that are potentially coming down the line as well. But if you wouldn't mind giving us just that 10,000-foot overview. I'm sure we'd all love it if you'd read all these 20 pages to us page by page, but we'll hold off on that for now.
Yeah, so I went ahead and started opening these before the meeting. That way I could kind of get some cliff notes together after we talked. So we've had 4 submit. As you know, we put out the 100 acres. I'm talking about the property, none of which have submitted for the entire project. One has offered to build piece and master develop the rest of it, which was Skinnell Properties. They have offered to self-develop the 200 multifamily apartments, 10,000 square feet of retail, the amphitheater plaza area, and the master plan infrastructure. And then they also said that back in early 19, when we put the master developer RFP out, they submitted on it. So they went back and referenced that item and said that they would still be interested in those services, but they would personally do the 3 items that we stated. We had Strongbox and Millhouse reach out together. The Millhouse piece is interested in the mixed use development H. If you recall your map, let me see if I do have that one, so I will bring it up just to help reference. If you give me 1 second here. So here's the map. So Millhouse is interested in Area H with the mixed-use development. As part of the strong box deal, they're also interested in parcel D and E, which are both indoor recreation facilities. And they are interested in F, which is a medical office building. We have a proposal in from ILADD, which they are and I don't want to get this wrong. Let me, if I can find their proposal. Sorry, I have a couple of these here. Yes, this Crossbridge Point, and ILAD is independent living for adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. They have put in for parcel C, which we had as an event center, but that's also the speculation we've wanted. As you see, there's a lot of pages. I'm trying to find the image. So what they're looking at is the back parcel that's backed by Traders Point School at the end. And it's looking at a housing addition. It's for mainly adults with some of the part people in there with Down syndrome. This is a project we've been talking with them for a while about and locating somewhere in Whitestown. We think near what we're wanting to put on this site could be beneficial. It adds workforce with the walkability and some other items. So something to consider as we're going through it. We have not had an event center propose. We talked to some in the first place, but they wanted us to pay a lot of money to put it there. So just another thing we can put in our options to look at and work with the developer if this is something we like. They are 501c3, so this would be a tax exempt facility most likely. And then one I'm excited about, and I'll show the one rendering. We've been asked not to share these with a lot of public, so hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble, but we received from Klipsch Card to do the rec center. We've been working with them. They've sent this rendering over as a conceptual, but they are interested in forgot what area that was now. Area B. So they're looking at building up to 8 gym, 2 full football fields, medical office, physical therapy, a variety of items within that facility. They have the Finch Creek facility, the PAC facility in Pendleton. So they've done a few of these, and the town's been discussing and working with them to come up with a package to try and make this a reality for Whitestown. We think this would be a great anchor. This is the kind of anchor we were looking at when we first started this project and trying to decide what to do. So those are the 4 that I've gotten in. If there's any questions, I'll answer what I can based off of those. I haven't gone through these. Like I said, I just pulled them up quickly to get an overview to be able to give to the board. And we can go back and really dig through them and over time come back to the board with stronger proposals and suggestions with building.
Great stuff. Thanks so much, Nathan. We just kind of scratched the surface on that. Steve, while we kind of digest that, would you mind giving us a little bit now that we have kind of received some of the RFPs on what's our process to be able to take action on this now that some of those have come through the door?
That really, your only statutory restrictions are you cannot now dispose of the property for less than the minimum offering price, which was the appraised value of the property, which was about $90,000 an acre. You have to wait at least 30 days. After 30 days, you can we can dispose of the property however you, the commission, feel is appropriate, consistent with your ideas for the development of the property. So we can work with anybody that submitted a proposal after that 30 days, or there could be other people that look at these proposals and maybe have other ideas that you could work with as well. So it's just kind of a 30-day waiting period now, where if you did want to dispose of it right away, you would be restricted on only being able to accept at least the minimum offering price or higher.
Mhm.
And all of these proposals that mention the offering said that they would want to negotiate and discuss that as part of an incentive package. So none of them came forward as saying they would pay the 90,000 to move forward with the project.
Does anybody have any questions just in general? I think we will. I think, as we discussed in our last meeting in June, believe that Ab and I are going to circle up with Nathan and Jason, other representatives from the town, just to kind of dive into these a little bit more, then hopefully can maybe discuss this at a later meeting as well in front of all of us in the commission. But does anybody have any initial questions just from looking at a few of those fun pictures?
Will their responses be distributed to the board members for a detailed review?
The majority of so for example, the Clips card has given financials and some others that they've asked not to just be completely dispersed, because they also included their feasibility study and a couple other items. I think their plan, I need to get with them to find out what we can, because we signed NDAs to get that information, but they also submitted, so I'm not sure. But I hope to have all that figured out in the next day or two of what the proposal itself. I'm guessing yes to all those items, just their financial background, all that. They may want an NDA on some of that.
Do we fall under the current NDA?
I'm not sure. Would have to check. I don't think so.
The proposals themselves are all public records in so I wouldn't see a problem with anything that was in their proposal, and that was in the notice, explained that everything that was submitted was a public record. So, but I believe individuals had to sign non-disclosures agreements. So if there's things, Nathan, that were submitted under the non-disclosure agreement, then we would just need to make sure if they wanted to see them that we had individual board members sign on to those as well.
Yeah, and I believe I don't know that the base proposal they sent, I think it just showed their other facilities and showed a concept for this one, and then they just asked that nothing be just given out, and we don't publish those documents. But getting them to the board, I don't see an issue with. But as you said, it was all put in the notice of it is public.
Nathan has a couple of those more coming throughout the week. Would you mind distributing those to the members of the commission as well, so we can all kind of take a look at them a little bit more in depth?
Yes, and if any additional come in, we've had a couple others reach out with inquiries, but they haven't came forward. But I'm not sure if they plan on a formal request or how they'll go about wanting to be involved with this.
Perfect. Does anybody have anything else they want to say on this topic?
Nathan, do you feel like the project's been properly publicized, and that the right people have at least seen the opportunity to participate in this development?
So if you go back with it, this project's been in IBJ, and it's been discussed. It's been in various news articles and stuff for years. So we went back through a list, and I probably sent it out to 10 to 12 people that were involved through the process that reached out at some point and say, hey, I'm interested. For example, that's like Skinnell. They were one of the ones I reached out to. I talked offline to Brian about some others that have shown interest that just didn't put a proposal in, and they were from previous that have reached out and said, hey, the parties that were all involved with the master developer proposal reached out to all of them and made sure they had it. And so anyone who's shown interest in this project in the past, I've reached out to separately from just the public notice that we put out.
Okay, nice job.
Anyone else? If not, I don't think there's any action that needs to be taken on this right now. So I see any other questions, go ahead and move along to item C, which is to consider a resolution approving the tax abatement for Coca-Cola Consolidated, which is the personal property application resolution 2020-06. I believe we have a representative from the Boone EDC here as well from Coca-Cola Consolidated. So Rachel, put you on the spot here. Would you like to add anything as far as an overview for the project itself?
Yes, thank you, Brian. Good evening, I should say. Rachel Huser with the Boone EDC here on behalf of BCC Operations or Coca-Cola Consolidated. Also, on Brian's note, just to note, there are several representatives on the call. Really just wanted to give an overview of the project as well as answer any questions that you all may have. So this facility, they're looking to locate to a new facility, Fishback Creek, specifically Building 3, anticipates a personal property investment of approximately $15 million and expects to employ 232 individuals at an average wage of $22 an hour, exclusive of benefits. The Boone EDC is recommending the town consider a personal property abatement of 7 years with a 15% step down, equaling savings to the company of approximately $570,000, benefiting the town approximately $460,000 in personal property tax levy and $400,000 in local income tax, assuming 10% are Boone County residents for employment. From here, I would like to introduce a specific company representative, Jennifer Richmond, to discuss why the company is interested in Whitestown, as well as then open the floor up to the RDC to ask any questions that we, the Boone EDC, may be able to help answer, as well as other representatives on the call. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jennifer just to give an overview of why Coca-Cola is interested in Whitestown.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jennifer Richmond. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Coca-Cola Consolidated. Thank you for your time this evening and for your consideration. Essentially, we are looking to make this investment in Whitestown to not only help with our operational efficiencies, but to also really just optimize our processes and our business across the state of Indiana. So we're looking to build a new 400,000 square foot warehouse. This will include our sales, our distribution, and our warehousing teams. We'll be also having a partial relocation of operations from our Indianapolis facility. And our fleet maintenance will also relocate to a standalone facility in Whitestown. So I don't want to belabor you all with details, but I do want to say that we're very excited to become a part of the Whitestown community, and we look forward to really, just being a part of the community and doing our part as a good corporate citizen. And I'm happy to take any questions. I know we have several folks from our team on the call as well.
Jennifer, how many of the employees are transferring from the Indianapolis location?
Yeah, so we're still working through a lot of the details. We don't anticipate opening our doors until next spring. Mm-hmm. So we do know that we'll be partially relocating folks from a couple of our current facilities in Anderson and Bloomington, as well as our Lafayette and our couple other facilities in the area. We essentially are looking at potentially operating with about 450 folks out of the new facility once it's fully operational.
Jennifer, is this a pure consolidation from some of those other facilities as well, or will they remain intact?
So I think some of that's yet to be determined. We will be, as I mentioned, consolidating some of those operations, and we do expect to bring some folks over from our other facilities. But what those numbers will end up being, we're not certain at this point. So we're still kind of in the planning stages of that work.
Can you speak to the type of equipment that's going to be within the facility?
I would actually turn that over to our engineering folks. I believe Kevin Fox and Norm Zagans are both on the call, and they would be better equipped to answer that question.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you all for having us this evening. I just want to make sure I've got my system on unmute. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I can.
Excellent. Thank you. Haven't used Zoom before. Lots of different tools out there these days. But now, as Jennifer said, we're super excited about becoming members of the Whitestown community. From an equipment standpoint in the building, we're going to have what we call material handling equipment. So it will automatically assemble our pallets that we send to our retail customers. Our game plan with that is to begin installation around November, once the building is dried in, and have the construction of that equipment completed early March, about a month or so before we open the facility up.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions from either the Boone EDC or the representatives from Coke?
There was a mention of pallet construction and fleet maintenance and sales. Is that the three components that I understand are going to be located in this warehouse?
So at this time, our plans are for distribution, sales, equipment services, and fleet maintenance to operate out of drop lots located in close proximity to the current distribution in Anderson and Bloomington respectively. But overall, those operations will be moving, and Norm, correct me if I'm wrong, all of those operations are moving to Whitestown upon completion. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's a phased approach, but the end state will be all those operations will move into this new facility once construction is completed.
So with folks from Bloomington and Anderson, do you think they're relocating out of those towns? Because I mean, Bloomington would be a drive.
So yeah, again, we're going to be consolidating our operations, but we're working closely with our employees to determine, what that opportunity is going to look like for them. And we do hope that, we're able to work through those issues with our teammates, but definitely that will be an ongoing conversation, and there'll be more to come in the coming months regarding that.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about some of the studies on the demographics and the workforce and the labor force that you've seen that drew you to Whitestown, and your confidence in our ability to fulfill those positions?
Norm, I don't know if you have any of that background information.
Not specifically on demographics, I don't, I'm sorry, but I know from Whitestown supported our needs from a growth opportunity. Just the area in general is just awesome. I mean, you guys just see it. That's where the growth is, and where it seems to have been for the last several years, and is projected to be in the future. So we're super excited about that. And I think from a sales distribution standpoint, getting our route trucks out to our different locations in the market unit, I know that was a real big plus too, as we were doing some of our studies of the different areas. I currently don't have the demographic information, but certainly I'm sure between Jennifer and I, if that's something you guys would like to see, I'm sure we can get that for you.
This is Rachel from the Boone EDC. To chime in here, when we first started this project, when we were working one-on-one with the consultants, we did a pretty thorough demographic analysis discussing our labor study that we conducted in 2019 to best represent the growth of Boone County, specifically in manufacturing, specifically in logistics and distribution, as well as in sales. Not sure if that helps kind of paint the color, but that was what was going on behind the scenes when this company first came to us to discuss under the code name. Along with that, just really touching point on the new jobs that we're discussing. So when we're taking into account the job recommendation. These are all the new jobs to Boone County specifically.
So how many employees are in the Bloomington location and the Anderson location?
So I don't have those specific numbers right now. What I can tell you is that essentially we will be moving, we'll have approximately 450 teammates out of the new facility once it's operational. And then at our Speedway facility, we will maintain our manufacturing presence at that current facility, and we'll have approximately 100 folks at that facility. We do have a large portion of our workforce that is field-based, if you will. They work often out in the market and different things, but their reporting location will be in that Whitestown facility.
You are projecting 232 new employees. Is that correct?
That would be 232 employees to Boone County. That would be
To Boone County, okay.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, Jennifer. Rachel here cut you off there.
Nope, you're good. Thank you.
Steve or Rachel, outside of the Whitestown RDC, I know this needs to go to the council, but this is on the fringe of the Anson North Fifth. Does it need to go to the Boone County RDC and commissioners as well, or just Whitestown, town of Whitestown, the RDC?
Just Whitestown.
Okay.
Just the town council now. We'll need to go to the town council, declaratory public hearing, and a confirmatory. So two meetings at the council.
Does anyone have any other questions? Well, as someone that has 50% of my body is water, the other 50% is Coke, I would entertain a motion for resolution 2020-06.
Put forward a motion to vote on resolution 2020-06.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? If not, is this a roll call again, Steve?
Yes, on these, let's.
Yeah, so we go ahead and start a roll call.
Brian Brackmeyer,
Yes.
Adam Hess,
Yes.
April Wyckoff,
Yes.
Rob Worrell.
Yes.
Motion carries. I'd like to thank all the representatives from Coke for joining us this evening, and Rachel for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe the last item on the agenda is under other business, item A, which is to discuss changes to the small business relief fund. Rachel, I think we'd like to go ahead and throw it back over to you if that's all right.
Of course, of course. Thank you again for letting me have the opportunity to speak. So this is in regard to the Small Business Economic Relief Fund, specifically just offering the flexibility to change some of the specifics that we have discussed through both the previous conversation as well as in the agreement that we have with the town of Whitestown and the RDC. So with that, what we have seen is that unfortunately we haven't had necessarily the bulk of applications that we were hoping for. So because of that, and in light of everything that we've learned with COVID-19 and just an economic downturn, how do we best pivot? And so with that, we are looking to change portions of the program to open it up to startups. And with that, change certain parameters that we are requesting. So if you're an existing business, still requesting, the fiscal year 2018 and 2019 statements, but then looking forward, if you are a startup that has been affected, your funding has been affected by COVID or other specific reasons, being able to offer that up with financial projections. So that is really the biggest change that we're looking for the program. We will be potentially renaming the program with that looking really just to rebrand, remarket, and re-enter the marketplace itself. With that, I know specifically we are looking at the terms as well. At this point, we're asking to kind of open it up, which this really goes into the agreement that we have with the RDC, is to open it up to have the microloan kind of set those parameters. Previously, we had 2.75% at 60 months or 0% at 24 months. We're still looking at that 5-year or 60-month process, but maybe we want to raise that, or maybe we want to lower that. Really offer more variety with that. Specifically, if an entity would like a 3-year loan at 1.25%, kind of in the middle between the two offerings, are we able to meet them and have the flexibility to go forward? So that's our biggest kind of the biggest area that we're seeing a lot of small businesses that have applied have been requesting the 5-year or 60-month at 2.75% term. And we're wanting to better understand, would it be better, or would we gain more interest in the program if we're able to offer some flexibility based on the microloans overall understanding. And with that, Nate sits on our microloan committee, so he would be able to really spearhead Whitestown's perspective of what terms would be best for you all. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to get as much financial assistance to those who need it the most, especially if a second wave comes around. How do we pivot best? Well, taking a step back, the way that we're looking to pivot is to kind of gain a little more review authority in the microloan committee. With that, I'll open it up to any questions. One other thing I'd like to note, specifically with our marketing campaign, what we're going to do, we have decided to both do our normal e-newsletter outreach, social media targeted campaign, which we have been doing. In addition to that, open it up to actually a mailing list, which we have already received all municipalities that are actually 50 employees or less. So changing that small business parameters from 30 employees or less to a top line revenue of $5 million or less. So kind of opening it up even more, really taking each applicant on a base by base, or I should say case by case scenario, to see how can we best help our small businesses here locally. So with that, I'll open it up, see what answers I can help with, as well as really just hear your thoughts on the program.
Rachel, I'm curious to know how many people have submitted an application initially based on the first set of parameters?
So we have received 6 applications. We've been working one-on-one with about 4 companies, not including those 6. With that, there was one specific company from Whitestown that went forward. However, we as a committee decided to forego that potential applicant because of other outstanding issues involving it. So with that, with the microloan committee process, and my recommendation to the committee, really look at that credit check, really look at their financial history and their current standing, as well as then if they're in good standing with the state of Indiana and the good standing with Boone County.
Do you think these changes will open up a new group of people that may need these funds?
That is my hope. Another area that we've really dived into is, are these small businesses, or let me rephrase that, were these small businesses overwhelmed at the very beginning in the onslaught of COVID, when we were first getting the program together? Were they just being onslaughted by assistance programs? Is the funding of the PPP, as it's better understanding the forgiveness piece versus what will not be forgiven? Are they worried about taking on too much debt? Will our ability to be more flexible with the terms offer better assistance for them? Things like that. So we're definitely hopeful, and we have a very strong point of attack to be able to reach the businesses, including me going out essentially face to face and visit these businesses to introduce the program if they've not received it, either via email or a mailing list.
Will any of the 6 become eligible because of these changes?
So of the 6 applicants, and I apologize, I'm spacing right now, we've been able to award 3. 1 removed application and the other 2 are still working through it. Or 1 is still working through it and 1 has been denied. So sorry, that was a lot of information. But of the 4 that have gone through and received approval, should they choose to have an application, 2 of them are potential ability to reapply, because that was when the loan amount was the lower at the $5,000. So they would be able to reapply and gain the other $5,000 once they have proven that they're able to start repaying their loan, prove that repayment history essentially with us. But with that, it only needs about a month to prove that. So of the loans that have been received, 2 are able to reapply and receive that additional $5,000. But the cap is still and will continue to be that $10,000 that we initially discussed.
What's the turnaround time for the application for the 3 that have been approved?
It was about a week. I will say going forward, we have made it very clear you have 10 business day turnaround from the time we receive all of the requested materials for your application. We're really gauging on 5 business day turnaround, but based on availability with the microloan committee, we're trying to give ourselves a little space there. With that, we are looking to offer about a 1-month deferment for the initial payment or repayment. We have been doing that previously. However, this is just solidifying this is what you're going to receive.
Thank you.
So what's the specific ask for tonight then?
So the
Authority to make changes?
My recommendation would be giving either the authority, as I sit on the board, to me, or giving it to another member, Brian, someone else on the board. And then when there's any changes to it, or we know there's going to be changes to the program, I could let that member know, and then they have to attend that meeting to vote on and kind of adjust with those changes. Because as the other members, the last meeting we had, the other members voted to make the changes to the program, but we had to stay out. And the way our contract is wrote, even if I wanted, we couldn't without coming back to this board to make those changes. So it's giving the ability to adjust kind of on the fly and then report back to the board of what those changes are. And that's where I think a member of the board would be ideal. I can do it and then just report back. And if I think it's questionable or it needs to come to the board, if it's a major change, say, for example, they came and wanted to make the whole program 60-month forgivable, well, or fully forgivable instead of 0%, or a major change like that, I think would come back to the board. But a small change like we talked about of kind of finding a common ground or changing the definition of what a small business is from less than 30 employees to less than 5 million in yearly revenue. Those kind of changes, it'd be easier to just be able to make those determinations without everything having to come back to the board. And the program has to sit on hold for us for 30 days, potentially, until it can get back to this board.
But how do we put those guardrails in place tonight? How do we define all of what you just said?
I think it's just putting the right person in there, whether it's the president of the board, and just them having that personal guardrail in the reporting back. So for example, and I'm just going to say me, which I think it'd be better if it's a board member, but if it were me and I made a decision to, hey, it's forgivable, well, I have to answer to you as the board. And knowing that I have to come back and answer to you, and I'm not going to get much done if I go doing stupid things. So it's, using that accountability of, hey, this one I should probably take to the board for more accountability, or if it's something minor, yes, could come back and get a slap on the hand or an upset board, but not an easy decision, but it's.
Am I able to share my screen?
I can make sure you can.
You won't let me.
Give me a second. Try it now.
Okay. Here we go. Can you guys see my letter?
Yes.
This was basically the letter agreement that we have, which one of the first condition is that the funds have to be used in accordance with the EDC guidelines, including but not limited to the maximum loan with terms of 0% interest or 2.75% interest. So what I might suggest, if you guys wanted to authorize this, was just authorize us to amend this term to say it can be used in accordance with the EDC guidelines as approved by Brian Brackmeyer or Nathan Messer. And so that they could basically amend their guidelines, the EDC could, and we could approve our loan consistent with their guidelines. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys done looking at that? I can stop sharing it.
Yeah. Well, in unique times, you have to look at really what the scope of this program was for, and it's be able to support businesses in Boone County Town and Whitestown. And when you look at the wide variety of businesses that are struggling right now, we don't want to be a hindrance and continue to delay support that could be done. So this is something that I would think it is worth be able to have Nathan and one representative from the RDC have that discretion to be flexible for the loan if it is something that the Boone EDC board wants to move forward with.
I thought Kyle was on the board.
So Kyle was originally planned to be there. When he went through his risk compliance committee through his employer, they gave him the no.
Okay.
So then this selected Nathan to go ahead and choose in our stead too, since he's already active and involved and works on a lot of this connections with the local employers anyway. So Kyle could not be that representative even if we wanted him to.
So Nathan, do we have a target list of folks we're going to proactively reach out to?
So I've been reaching out to any local businesses I know that are locally owned, smaller businesses. I know Rachel's also as part of our campaign. She can speak more on it. But from the Whitestown end, I've been going to the businesses in the core, the businesses over in Anson, trying to get the smaller businesses. There's some over in the business park. Once the next round rolls out, we're working actually with the Parks Department because they have good contacts for a lot of the businesses versus just the info at email address. So we're trying to put those contacts together to make sure the local businesses and the small businesses are aware of this program. So we hope to see a lot more response in round two, the next marketing campaign, just working with the town and EDC to get the right contacts of those businesses.
But did they decline specifically because of the guardrails we have in place now, or just wasn't the right time, and they also want to be more creative with it?
The ones I talked to didn't even look at the guidelines at the time. They've already engaged in either another program or they're trying not to incur more debt at this time. But as things continue on, they've said they love the option of it being there, but some have said, they've thought about taking the money and letting it sit for 2 years They've thought about taking the money, letting it sit 2 years at the 0%. If they don't need it, turn it back in. But then they've said they don't want to take away from a business that may need it by doing so. But they like the fact that there is an option to help them if needed. So I'll say they've been kind about it and not just grabbing the money, the ones I've talked to. So,
And I would reiterate that wholeheartedly. We've received a lot of interest and follow-up conversations about the program, but at the end of the day, it's the small businesses that would be wonderful candidates are already engaged in another loan program, and they don't want to take away specifically from those that are in the 0 to 2 years that are the most vulnerable at this time. And going to the intention of any Boone EDC loan program, it's to help revitalize and to invest in our local economy and the riskier businesses to help them thrive. really going to that grassroots economic development. And so with that, we hope that this new program, or not even new program, it's a hybrid of our microloan program and the Small Business Economic Relief Fund, kind of merging together to create this third option for businesses to be able to pursue opportunities. I will say, to answer to your question list, I already do have a very in-depth list with addresses as well as overall company phone numbers and specific, the CEO or president specific names. That is my go-to mailing list that I'm reaching out to. And then with that, really doing the email list with those that we have a direct relationship with through our e-newsletter and our small business mailing. So we do have a list. We are ready to go. We are printing the postcards potentially this week, as early as this week, to really hit the ground running as fast as we can. And by allowing us to have the opportunity to have a representative or a single individual be able to sign off on if we have to pivot again, it just allows us to pivot faster and to help those small businesses based on the feedback that we're receiving.
Can you please remind me, so the $50,000, that was going into a pool, correct, with other different communities? Is there any type of allocation that would be dedicated to Whitestown once we open this up? Because I would imagine there would be a lot more companies that would qualify.
Of course. So you will have, so Whitestown companies receive the $50,000.
Okay, good.
No
Okay.
other, yeah. And that will, that $50,000, even when it's paid back into the Boone EDC, it is earmarked for Whitestown businesses going forward. So that your $50,000 is your $50,000 for the companies of Whitestown.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And with the business talks, we've started doing business walks, talking to. I've probably been to 20 in the past month, just going, meeting with the owners. With COVID, it's a little tougher because obviously the dentists and eye doctors, they have higher restrictions and stuff to get in. But so I just had to schedule my appointments and use those times to talk to those businesses. But we've been trying to do a lot of the business walks and talks, see how they're doing, see if there are things the town can do. And at those, I'm letting them know about this program and to reach out to the Boone EDC to try to move forward with it. And that's where I've got a lot of my information back. And it's, as far as that, to meeting an ice cream truck in the neighborhood and making, standing at the back of it, talking to them about the program. So we're definitely getting it out there. We're making sure they know about it. It's just they've either already started a loan process elsewhere or just don't want to take on the additional debt with the fears moving forward because they don't feel they need it yet. But
Any further questions or discussion? Any volunteers to be the point of contact with Nathan on this?
I wouldn't mind. He can yell out the window and I'll hear him.
There we go. So would entertain a motion. Really quick, Steve, if we decided to move forward, you just wanted to amend the first bullet point of the contract, item A?
Yes, so if it were to be, if it's Rob, to allow Rob to approve changes to the program to consistent with changes that the Boone EDC makes to their program.
would you just word it as the appointed member? That way, if by chance that changes next year as this program continues, versus just Rob?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I'll put forward a motion. Is it 2020.-07? Is that what it would be?
No, it's just a motion.
Motion.
I'll put forward the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? If not, believe roll call again, Steve.
Yes. Minutes I didn't care about.
So Brian Brackmeyer,
Yes.
Adam Hess,
Yes.
April Wyckoff,
Yes.
Rob Worrell.
Yes.
Motion carries. Is there any other business? All right. Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
that motion.
No need for a roll call on that one, Steve.
Bye.
Show of hands.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Enjoy the
job.
vacation, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey, guys.
you.